so then that's the two of us. We would normally we'd normally be joined by one of our American friends calling in remotely, but he is on a day off today.
We'll save that surprise for tomorrow.
Yeah.
You'll find out who it is. I think we already told people it's Sam Rosen. We could just say it's Sam.
Okay. Yeah. We're going to have Sam Rosen joining us for the end of the broadcast tomorrow, the day after, and the day after. So that will be a nice little treat. We're going to go back to the footage of board one as our players get ready for the final game of the day. Brian Bowman has taken his first tiles, and Thomas Reinke will be taking his shortly. Yep, there we go. We've got them both all lined up.
All right, so it looks like Brian is first. Okay, it looks like he's got what, Bajri? What other words does he have here?
That's definitely the one that's standing out pretty fast for me.
Man, it's been all day since it's been just you and me. I feel like we got to like actually carry the broadcast and like talk more. And this is hard.
I know, so much pressure. Yeah. I mean, I'm liking Bajri for sure as one of the options here.
Yeah, seems like there's really not much else to consider here. You don't want to play Rioja or Roji. These are not as good.
Yeah, and by not playing the O and playing Bajri, he will avoid giving back outright, as was mentioned in the chat. All right, thank you for watching, Nemo. Hopefully we will see you again for some of the rest of the broadcast for the tournament. A bientôt.
Yeah, we'll be here all week, literally. So I have a sneaking suspicion that Brian is going to be that guy and play Bajri vertically. So, you know, that's going to be a problem, but
we haven't really had a blatant Verdi.
I think he's our first Verdi on the show. Did we have one earlier? I can't remember. Did Eldor open vertically? Who can remember these things? But I believe Brian is one of those.
Moyes went first in game one, right? Because I feel like Life is a Verdi, and I think we would have noticed if that had been played then.
I think he went back horizontal again. Who can remember these things?
Deldar opens vertically, they say in the chat. There we go.
Okay.
Matthew Tunnicliffe asks, can we censor that? Yeah, Matthew Tunnicliffe is very anti-Verdi. I had you in mind at the moment, thinking you might twitch. You might twitch on Twitch.
There you go.
If it were to be played vertically.
I'm going back through all the games now. So round one, Lipe played Pell horizontally. Round two, Austin played Opa horizontally.
Ooh, Job has been played. Job has been played vertically, and that gives outright.
Ooh, so. Job and then outright. Ooh.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt in the morning.
And that's why you don't open vertically.
Tisk Verti says Jucko.
All right, technical difficulties are all ironed out, and I can actually update the score, and it should be 84-26. All right, so what do we got here for Brian? He's got the Z now. I'm not immediately seeing any awesome hotspots for that.
No, nothing too obvious to me either.
Some options here. He's got Wazir from the W, 34 points for that. He could also play a word like Zati, but that would be keeping two R's.
Yeah, I think getting to one for sure is the option. I would agree. Oh, it's Jeremy Hildebrand. I was wondering who that was and wasn't. I figured I should ask at some point. Hello,
hey,
hello.
It's Joko.
We like to see. Thomas Reinke, as has been pointed out by Noah Slatkoff, as Fatalist.
Ooh, very nice. Yep.
Baba Satire, Joshua won in the game between Jesse and Joshua in the last round.
Fatalist is the only bingo possible with that rack, so he needs to hope that that eye stays open. There's no other bingo. We happen to know that it probably will stay open. If Brian plays like Wazir, which it looks like he will, then Fatalist is coming down. So a nice lead for Thomas Reinke right out of the gate. He's going to bingo twice to start.
He's taken that time just to look again briefly, just in case.
Yeah.
I am in support of doing such a thing, even though you have what is usually an obvious play. You want to take another look just in case something nice opens
just
up.
double check a little bit. Yeah.
Because that's something you just smack yourself for, and it's totally controllable as a mistake if you make it. So yeah, definitely worth taking a few more seconds.
We've been talking about time management a lot today, and it's not always about playing faster. Sometimes playing slower is the right idea too.
That comes through experience and usually mistakes to figure out when it's time to look just a little bit longer.
But yeah, Fatalist is definitely the best play here, and I'm sure Thomas will conclude that pretty soon.
Yeah, he's lined them back up in that order, and he's putting them down.
All right, 76 for Thomas, and he's got a 104-point lead to start. Couldn't ask for a better start than that. So Brian's got the H and the V now. He's going to have to find a way to score some points with those tiles. He needed an S for reshaven. Didn't get it. There's no Havener. That's a phony. I thought for a second that might be good, and the computer very promptly told me I was being a moron.
Oh.
So one option here for Brian is a Veena, Veena, in the top right corner next to Fatalist. He could also play in that H hotspot to the right of Fatalist. He could play like or A or hat. Those are all options as well. Definitely, if you're Brian in this position, you want to prioritize keeping multiple places for bingos open. You're down by 100. You're going to need to bingo multiple times. You got to plan for that. And it's not easy to do. Based on that, maybe something like Veena, which opens up the board a little bit more than something like Hat does. I don't know. Neither of those is really ideal, I would say. Computers ruin everything, especially my ego.
Quackle's like the
I thought I knew all the words and saw all the plays, and then the computer was like, no, you're missing this and this and this and this and this and this. So,
can you imagine trash talking Quackle? Like if it actually could do that when we miss plays?
That'd be bad.
I'd be deflated forever.
That would be David Eldar, basically.
He does it to himself as well, to be fair.
Absolutely. So yeah, tough spot for Brian here. You got a lot of competing priorities here. You want to score well, you want to keep the board open, and you want to kind of unload the junk like the H and the V. And you can't really do all of those things too easily. Maybe Veena is the best option, but not ideal, I don't think. Looks like Thomas has finally drawn not a bingo. First time doing that. He's got Beget lined up on his rack, which is interesting.
Plays very nicely to the right of Fatalist for now.
Ah, yes, I see. Pretty sure that's going to get blocked. Basically, all of Brian's best plays involve using that part of the board. Yeah, I would definitely strongly consider Veena here if I were Brian. I think a lot of players try to avoid opening triple word scores, but the V is not the scariest letter in the world to put out there. It's not that often you're going to get like hit with a massive bingo through the V or anything. We happen to know that with Thomas's actual rack, he's got nothing through that V. He's just got weird, clunky consonants that don't go with it. Fish for job holder. I like that. He's got the H and the E and the R. He's halfway there.
We're not quite living on a prayer yet, though, so I'm not sure if it's time yet. We don't always go for the puns. We go for random musical lyrics as well.
So what play could he make that fishes for job holder? He could play... No, I got nothing. I don't know. You tell me, chat. Oh, Jobberies would also Fit, right? Beries, yeah.
Stock jobbery. Nice. That's wild.
I see that Aditya, rather than going to sleep, is looking up words like stock jobbery. Great life choices.
I wonder if that's even come up in anagrams. Like, obviously, unlikely in an actual Scrabble game, but just thinking, even in an anagrams game, that seems unlikely.
Yeah, sure does.
Pandorable, in this case, job holder would already be touching the triple letter word score, pardon me. So it would not matter in this case if it takes an S, because job holder would extend to the end. Looks like Vina with just one E was suggested as well instead. I'm kind of more in the camp of playing the other E to add many more points, especially when you're down by so much. I don't think HER is a good enough leave to justify giving up those points. Oh, to keep EHR for job holder. Got it. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I'm thinking in a different mindset here. Pardon me. You're right. For job holder, Vina would be reasonable. Definitely.
Looks like our video froze because the clock is stuck on. Oh, there we go. Now it's working. Oh, and there's Vey. Okay.
There's a word. Yeah. Vey has come down.
HENR is an interesting leave. It's
well
for both scoring and bingoing in a way.
This leaves Beget next to Fatalist.
I see a question of why is he taking so long on this move, but honestly, I think those are difficult turns where you're trying to figure out how to come back from down 100. There's no clear star play. I don't blame him for taking a think there.
Yeah, that one definitely required a little bit of pondering and complication. The thing with Vey is it looks at first, unless you think about it for a second, Vey doesn't actually completely block the left side of the board. Uve is still very much available as a hook there. And it turns out he's drawn the U, which is going to be useful for him. Thomas is considering multiple options here. It looks like maybe not just Beget anymore. It looks like he's got Beef lined up as well.
Sorry about the score. It's actually 85 for Brian after his play of Vey. Got that updated now. So what's that, a 77-point lead for Thomas? And he's got Beget as a pretty good option.
And he's putting Beget back in order. I think it's pretty hard to argue with that. I mean, FG is not a great leave, but what Beget does, besides scoring well, is it takes out the triple word score line for a bingo off of the E and outright, going upwards at least. And it also takes away a lot of the options through Fatalist to make eights as well. It doesn't really offer a ton back. I mean, anything with egg you could hook and play down to, but you're taking away options to make 8-letter words and control. Essentially, you're really well controlling one quadrant of the board. The J in Job, just because of the nature of it, you can't play any 2-letter words to the left of it. So the top left quadrant is more or less off limits for now, unless you can play a word ending in a U or close to ending in a U with Uve. Beget is a great board controlling play besides scoring well.
So it's back to Brian, and I see he has Hun, H-U-N, can just overlap Beget there, making Hagenute and Net. Seems like a natural move, just straight up points and leave.
Yeah, I don't really see much else you can do. The only reason why he might pause briefly is he would be getting rid of his U to hook Vey, but at this point, given how far behind you are, you definitely want to keep scoring, or having that hook doesn't matter.
And sure enough, Hun is coming down. Another practical suggestion was Rhine, R-H-I-N-E, with all the, through the R and outright with all the overlaps, making Zit. And
alongside Wazir and down from the R and outright. Yeah, that would have been
it's 40 points. You don't necessarily think it's 40 until you start counting. And then
it's a lot. And you actually also keep the U for that lane on the left hooking Vey. So that's probably also why Paco likes it. To
be clear, I think Hun is still the best play. I'm just saying Ryan is cool.
Yeah.
117 to 96 is your score, and we see Thomas with Forgery on his rack.
Forgery non-bingo, says the chat. Yes.
Yeah, his best play might just be Forgery through the R, keeping an R. Could also consider Foy in the top right corner. Brian has a nice balanced rack of dankier, but yeah, that's not actually a word. No bingo for him. I think typically in this position, if you're Thomas, the best move here is to stare at your rack and be angry for like 2 minutes that forgery won't play.
Been there,
And then
done
eventually
that.
be like, okay, fine, what do I actually play?
You're like, oh, look at that. I used like 5 minutes of my time by by getting mad about that. Been there, done that.
And it looks like Thomas has lined up FO space jury, like he's considering forgery through the R. Yeah, that's a perfectly fine move. I think Foy and forgery are both pretty solid.
Forgery, is that like when you go to the school of Fergie?
Even for you, that's terrible.
I'm just wondering what it would mean if it were actually a word.
Sure. Yeah, danker is good. Dankier is not. There you go.
Unpleasantly damp. Is there a pleasant dampness? I can't think of one.
Again, this is a family-friendly show. I can't talk about that right now.
Danky Kang. Nice.
Looks like Thomas is still thinking about forgery versus Foy. It is a tough call. Foy is 4 extra points. Keeps your leave of EGRR. Not the best leave in the world.
Thomas is also considering Ferry on his rack. Looks like he is playing forgery ultimately.
Yeah, I think that's
Nice.
a fine play.
Yeah. Dank like a meme for the, yeah, dank memes. That's definitely a thing.
You don't want your memes to be unpleasantly damp. That's like the worst kind of memes.
They need to be pleasantly damp. Which I believe is moist. I was just trying to think, what's another way of saying that? Yeah, moist memes.
All right, so a couple of ways to score points with your K here if you're Brian. And you are down by a score of 232, 117. Let me update that again, sorry. In the top right corner of the board, you got words like kid and ked and kin and ken. And then in the bottom right, you got words like yank and yark and yerk. So a couple of easy scoring spots for your K. Interesting for Brian to choose which one he likes best. Ooh, and it looks like Thomas has drawn a bingo that plays in 2 spots. He's got so lunar, and like you were saying earlier, Ve takes a U for Uve.
Yeah.
So sure enough, that hook's going to come in handy. Brian's lining up kid on his rack, which is a very solid choice. AENR, a good leave.
Yeah.
Looks like he's also looking at KI, but you got to play kid over KI. I mean, it's a difference of like 13 points.
Mm-hmm.
You got to play off that D.
Playing it in the top right for sure, because since that quadrant is killed off as far as bingos are concerned, you might as well score there while fishing-ish. And it looks like that's what he's got lined up and
Yeah.
is reasoning through. The sun and the moon are setting on this game already. Yeah, fair. You guys with your tricky hooks. There's lots and lots of hooks. Yes, Uvia has the anagram of Uve in columns as well. Kid has been played. Back to Thomas Reinke, who has his choices.
2 of them, in fact. He can choose Solunar or Solunar.
Do we have anyone in this chat who understands why I'm saying choices in that way? I don't know. Is there anyone here? If you know, you know. Otherwise, you don't. I'll have to explain later. Is there anyone in the chat who knows when I say it with this inflection specifically? Choices. Do you know what I mean?
I sure don't.
All right. Well, we'll come back to that a little bit here.
All right. So Saloner making Ube is 71 points, and Saloner making FA underneath Forgery is 67. So a 4-point difference. I don't have any compelling reason not to just be like, I don't know, take the points. I guess, well,
How many use have been played? 1, 2. That would be the third. But then the S being hooked out on the left, you're not blocking anything anyway. So I was just like thinking, what's better for board control?
I think they both have their strengths and weaknesses in that regard. Like, if you play Saloner and Uwe, you're giving back a big spot to the left of the O in Saloner. But if you play it at the bottom, making FA and OR, then there's just like an obvious bingo lane ending in S, which is also a risk. Yeah, see, the placement he's put down here is it's got its strengths and weaknesses, like I said. But if Brian has a bingo, you're making it very easy for him to play it. And sure enough, Brian does
He
have
definitely has a bingo.
Yeah. I'm not saying Thomas is wrong.
Yeah.
I'm just saying there's pros and cons. All right, so the updated score is 299 for Thomas. He's up by a big old 147. But I think Brian's going to take away about half that spread right now.
So I'm looking at different potential choices that Brian could do. So one of the ones that stands out immediately is Perinia, hooking to make OR and FAP. The problem with FAP is it doesn't take an S.
Yep.
So that would be effectively blocking himself with any potential comeback opportunities. This is interesting for him because if I were Brian, I would actually not want to play off the S in Solunar, if at all possible. I would want to be playing underneath the Forgery and Solunar to make something off to the right that also creates a lane on the bottom to give him a long shot, to be fair, of coming back, but a shot all the same. That would be my personal preference. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you want to absolutely maximize the ways you can bingo in the future after this turn because you're going to need more bingos than this one to come back. And definitely playing FAP would close off some things for you. It is a shame that like so many of your highest scoring plays are going to be making that FAP hook. It's tough. But what about a word that puts the R underneath fa, like reaping, for example?
I think any of those would be reasonable.
Yeah. I mean, you are giving your opponent just like easy points in line 15 there. So that's also got its weaknesses.
So originally he had put down Perinia, picked it up. Now he's putting down Paniers, it looks like. So interesting. Okay. Well, I mean, like you're going purely for points when you do that. You do still leave the S lane, but it's so easily blockable. And then what do?
Yeah.
There's nothing there. So I personally disagree with the choice.
But this is interesting. I mean, you're only down by 1 bingo now. There is an obvious lane open 2 bingo. There's a blank out there you can draw. I think Brian is alive in this game. He's not like super desperate yet.
But already on this turn, all you have to do is play like anything reasonable, that is blocky in that spot on the board, and the game's over because the top right quadrant's gone, top left is gone with the J where it is, and all you have to do is kill this quadrant in the bottom left. There's nothing you can do. You're chasing the entire time, which is why to me it was so critical that you opened up the bottom line with that and played something like Repaint. I am completely disagreeing with Panniers on this one. That's my perspective. I don't know what people in the chat think, but I'm highly disagreeing with that choice. Because we're seeing with Thomas, all he has to do is play something with the V and it's dead.
We'll see. I think there's still ways for this to open back up again. I mean, it depends what word Thomas uses to kill the spot, if that is what he ends up doing. He's also looking at a play like Vaded, which will actually open the board wide open. So who knows what will happen? Yeah, I mean, his equity play obviously is just Vaded for 35 above Solunar. It's not really thematically the kind of thing you're looking for here when you're up by a bingo. But I don't know. I'm not sure how defensive he wants to be at this point in the game. He could shut it down or he could keep scoring.
I mean, Vaded somewhat still kind of fulfills that MO because a V in the triple lane is probably not the most worrisome thing. If you're going to play something there, you leave the opportunity for 9s with ES, but I mean, like that's...
well, it just goes through that A invaded too.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you don't want to give him an easy letter like an A if you can help it. It's a tough spot. Some of the hardest positions in Scrabble are the ones where you have a clear equity play, but you got to think about how much to sacrifice equity for board considerations, such as blocking when you're up by a bingo. Yeah, it's not easy.
He's done that, so ultimately he's played it. He's got a lot of O's on his rack that he's picked after that play. Meanwhile, Brian has got not a lot of vowels at all. He's got consonantitis.
So if he wants to play off those consonants, he can play YAWP, Y-A-W-P. That does kill the very nice opening that his opponent has offered him. But it really looks like a lot of the best plays are through that A invaded. Things like YAWP and WASPy and Spawny and Yawn, etc.
So he's gone for Yop, keeping CINS.
Yeah. So both players just kind of like making their strong equity plays and hoping for the best. There's definitely something to be said for that approach.
Thomas has not gotten the best with all this.
Yeah, I mean, this might be an example of a game where you think you're down by a lot and you just come back by just making strong plays and hoping for the best. Like, you don't have to get too desperate necessarily. Sometimes you start drawing better and your opponent starts drawing IOOO, like things can change. So, I don't know. Brian has drawn interesting stuff. Needs a U for meniscus.
Yep.
Anything else he can get? I don't know. Oh, cosmines, amnesics. Yeah, all sorts of words that he doesn't get to play on this board.
Yes.
What do you do if you're Thomas here? This is tough.
And from his point of view, there's still a number of, let's see, 30 unseen tiles. 1, 2, 7, 11, 12, 13, 14. Oh, it's about even for a constant vowel ratio.
Yeah.
And he's vowel heavy, so,
I don't feel like there's any spot that you desperately need to block right now. The board's pretty well under control without you having to do much. So you could just focus on continuing to score points and balance the rack. Yeah, Po2 is pointed out by Muffin in the chat, and that looks like a strong option. 20 points, keeping a good leave of INR.
Po2 takes out Yops. Yeah, that's kind of why I like that as well.
Oh, true. Yeah, very important. Yes. Yeah, Po2 looks great. If you know the word and see the word, which is not super easy to know or see. But yeah, if you see it, it's probably pretty clearly best. Sorry about the score. We're just fixing it now. It's 259 for Brian. So he is down by 75.
Po2 has been played. Very nice play.
Yeah, great play by Thomas. He's been playing really well all game, and Po2 is going to put him up by 95. And for Brian, he's got 2 S's, so he can afford to maybe burn one to score some points with it. A play like Ism, making Yops, scores 32. That looks really nice.
Yeah, that was also suggested in our chat.
Oh, nice.
Henry, welcome.
Ooh, Knemis, that's a fun word.
Yes. Yeah, it's hard to know which one of those IS words become IDES for the plural only, or that and ISES, or just ISES. It's really interesting how some of those end up. But Snemides, I'm assuming. I don't know how to pronounce it properly, but
yeah, me either.
I'm assuming it's that.
So yeah, it definitely seems like Ism is a strong play here. There's not a lot of other options. You got to keep scoring enough that you're even within one bingo striking distance, which right now he's kind of not, being down by 95. Isms is 43 if you want to burn your second S as well. Not sure if you want to do that, though. Not very many places to bingo on this board, and the places there are don't score very well. Like you look at that D invaded, you could score a nice little 64 going into that spot.
Mm-hmm.
You look at that T and outright, you could score a good 62 there or something. Like these are not great options. But I think your best hope is to score a lot of points with something like ISM, and then just hope to draw a bingo and get back in it. And Brian does indeed put down ISM. Looks like a strong play. And it's back to Thomas, who has drawn not very well, I don't think. Not really seeing a lot of great options with his. Looks like he's got lingerie minus the G.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, linery, not a thing. He seems to have set aside LEI. That's going to play in the bottom right corner triple for a whopping 16. Thomas has got plenty of time to think. 12 minutes on his clock. Yeah, it looks like there's really not that much else that's better than LEI, even though it's only 16. You could play ZITE, Z-I-T-E, through that Z and the T. 15 points, keeping a leave of liner. It's really not that different than lay. Both similar score, similar leave kind of plays. Yeah, lay looks fine, and he's going to play it. 354, 291. A 63-point deficit for Brian Bowman to make up here. Oh, I'm wrong. He's got 370. I need to update that.
Yeah. You have 60 there. There you go.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, so
79-point deficit for Brian to make up.
ACENOSU for Brian's current RAF. And yeah, he's not really sitting with all the best of options here either.
Yeah, this is brutal.
So from his point of view, we have to think, as you mentioned, there's the D invaded and the T and outright as far as his best options for any kind of bingo play coming down here shortly. And he has to expect that within reason, if Thomas can do anything that's remotely plausible, he's going to try and take out one of them, I would say, relatively soon. So he's got to think about, what am I going to do to ensure some kind of continuity and allow me some chance to stay in this game? So it would likely involve creating space elsewhere if he doesn't have something obviously scoring. And at this point, he does not. So the issue is, how does he create that space? He has, as it turns out, the case U. From his point of view, the Q is still out there. He does not know that it is on Thomas's rack.
Right.
But he has the case U. Words ending in U that are long are not really so much a thing. So
Yeah.
Uwe is probably not coming into play for anything here in general, unless he were to choose to play something short. But I don't think that's going to be beneficial to him here.
Yeah.
I mean, of the short plays, I think all the suggested plays in Quackle are short. OU and Uwe would be interesting to create a 7 sort of lane. But I don't know if that's his best necessarily.
Oh, an interesting choice that Quackle points out is OUD, O-U-D, into the D invaded. That creates a better bingo line for you that you can use next time.
That's
and it
true.
keeps ACENS. I like that a lot, actually.
That one is interesting. I agree.
It only scores 9, but that's kind of what you're stuck with. There's a lot of plays that score 9 here. So what are you going to do?
Matthew Tunnicliffe is also thinking the OU hooking Bay. Yeah, so I was just talking
Similar
about that
idea.
before
Yeah,
too.
opening a new bingo spot. Yeah.
QPR says the ED lane probably best on the board. I mean, it's definitely among the best as far as the most common endings for 8s are going to be ED often. So in that sense, it's one of the best, but the T would help with endings of EST, so the superlative forms of lots of words. So both are pretty good. Let's see what else is here. Jeremy Hildebrand suggests Ace and Shag and Cute. As far as scoring goes, that's definitely a scoring option. But are one of those words potentially words that you can't play anymore?
Not to my knowledge, although I have terrible knowledge.
Okay, that's fine.
I just checked. Cute is still good. They didn't delete that one.
That's not the one I was thinking of. Okay, so I guess that's the other one is an example of one that has multiple meanings, one of which is rather foul. But,
Gotcha.
so let's just see. We are on Thomas Reinke's time.
Looks like Oka has come down.
Yeah, Oka and Lou.
So it's 309 for Brian. I'm going to put up the pool of unseen tiles in a minute. So we've got 17 unseen. That means 10 in the bag. And for Thomas, I mean, you're ahead by a bingo-ish score. You just need to not let Brian... Well,
don't let him bingo. So I think what Thomas is looking at so far, he was lining up some of the options with X there. Maybe he was very briefly pondering something involving the Q. Yeah, now he's got Q lined up. An A for Cot would be nice for him, but he's not going to burn his blank on that.
Oh, I got the wrong tile. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm getting the tile pool fixed.
Matthew.
All right, the tile pool should be fixed now. Okay.
Matthew Tunnicliffe is also wondering if he's looking at Cot. I was wondering that too. Like, it doesn't seem like he would actually burn the blank for that.
Yeah,
but I mean, it scores and it
letters.
blocks one of the two very common 8-letter lanes. So situationally, that could be a thing. So we're still waiting for Thomas to make a decision here. It looks like he's also pondering exit. That would very likely be at the T and outright to take out one of the two. I mean, it would take out the T, but it would leave an E in the process to play 8s too. From his point of view, Oka is a play that's narrowing down. Like, Oka doesn't score that much. I mean, a little bit, but it looks like a play where you're grooming your rack, you know, where you're close to something that's pretty good. So the school of thought, if you were to put down exit, correct me, Evans, if you think I'm wrong here, but the school of thought would be, if I'm going to leave 8s as a possibility, I want to at least change what they're looking at. You know, if like he's been looking at the D and the T on the board as lanes for a long time. So exit would offer an E back, you know, which is a very common letter, but it hasn't been there for a while. For people who immediately find words, I don't think that's of much consequence. They're going to automatically find it anyway.
Yeah, I mean,
there is,
this caliber,
it is a school of thought,
yeah,
is to make them look at something new.
Yeah, I think with players of this caliber, like, they're going to find their bingos and they need to be found either way. But it's just not easy on this board for Brian to have a chance to come back. So
let's see. Baba, I'm glad you were enjoying the game. Thank you for that feedback. Matthew says, I feel like the blank is going to be used to unload the queue eventually. You can just do it now. I mean, like, yeah, it's true. I feel like it's a pretty high chance the queue is not going to get down otherwise.
You can turn that into Kanat with Q blank, and that also kills the bingos into the T. That's interesting.
So it looks like he played Unlove.
Well, that's surprising, but actually, you know what? I don't know. I think what he's doing there is just putting the game out of reach.
Hang on, let me just make. Who played? Oh, Brian played Unlove. What? Sex was played before.
Oh, okay. Sex and then Unlove. Okay, that's
okay. Sex was played before, and then Unlove.
Okay. All right, so we got a score of 391 to 346. And
Brian doesn't have tiles. I'm wondering if Thomas is holding.
Oh, he probably is. Unlove is good, so it'll be +5 if it is challenged.
I believe they're checking. It looks like Thomas is looking away.
All right, I got the unseen tile pool fixed, and Unlove +5 is going to put Brian up to 351. All right, so after they finish the challenge, the situation is going to be, we got 3 tiles in the bag, and it's Thomas on turn up by 40.
Interesting.
But to Brian's credit, I mean, unlove really changes the dynamic of this game. There is now a whole lot of bingo potential that you got to be concerned about.
The insta play, if you're really just going fast, would be cheen and but definitely worth taking a little bit of time to look at, to consider permuting some of the bingo possibilities in the pool. Cal79 says, didn't know unlove. This is why I should have done all the sixes. You know, that's fair. I think of the words that you study, the sixes traditionally usually are among the last that you would be looking for. I mean, unlove would obviously have hooks on the end of it. But if you're studying sixes specifically, they usually are among the last that people study.
So I was just looking at a list of possible bingos Thomas has to be afraid of here. And there's a lot of things Brian could have from his perspective. There's things like decimes and chemise and midgies. There's all sorts of 7-letter words that Brian, from Thomas's perspective, might have. We happen to know that he doesn't have those things. But
so you said how many in the pool?
There's 3 tiles in the bag.
Oh, so then cot is for sure the play here at this point in time, I'm guessing.
Well, unless you... Well, okay, that's interesting. I was going to say, does that lose to a bingo out is my question?
It's not a bingo out because there'd be one in the bag.
Oh, I see. Yes. Okay, that makes sense. Yes. All right, so if you were to play cot, and then let's say your opponent has chemise for 74. Well, let's say they have something even better than chemise, like midgies. Then you are on turn only down by 6, and you've got a full rack, and you'll probably win.
Most likely. Okay,
so I think
he's
cat
played
probably.
Nice.
Yeah, that's
nice
a good play, I think.
Nice play. Didn't have to use the blank for cot after all.
All right, and the pool is now corrected.
Oh, and
okay.
he's got like endrins and all sorts
Oh,
of
he drew.
things.
Oh, he's got dinner blank. Okay.
Yeah, and Brian has got chigmas. bunch of stuff that's just not going down.
Yeah. So
Chief Wiggums. Nice.
beautiful. Love it.
We've had Simpsons things in here all day. David Eldar came in here and had some Simpsons references to start our day. We've got Jeremy Hildebrand provide them at the end. Very good. We have some.
We're talking about months last round.
Yeah. Yeah. We have some Simpsons love, despite the unlove that has literally gone down in this game. There is Simpsons love all day.
So we happen to know that this is just losing for Brian, but he doesn't know that.
Yeah.
He's hoping the blank is in the bag. It turns out it's not. I'm sure he's looking for things like chemise or Skrieg or like some kind of crazy bingo he can come back with. But as we happen to know that the eye is in the bag, he can't win. From Brian's perspective, though, it's a pretty interesting pre-end game because there's bingos you're trying to fish for. He might even have something into the D invaded, making Oye. Like, there's all sorts of possible ways to try to come back. But unfortunately, Thomas has the God rack here. It's just, there's nothing you can do.
SmackDown is coming. The question is, which form of it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Because there is no shortage of choices. We're going to use that again.
I'm going to ask you later what that's about. I'm very curious.
I am waiting for fellow rainbow people to weigh in because that's a fairly iconic moment from a fairly iconic TV show for my people.
Okay.
All right, so what has been played? He's fished off one tile somewhere. Wait, so the M has gone?
Played the M.
Mute, okay.
Mute, okay.
Yeah, so GG.
So he's hoping to draw the R for Chigras, but he did not do so.
Thomas has got Endiron lined up, just looking for other options before he finally puts it down. Yeah, there it goes. Oh. The blank will be an O as in Oscar. Or dare I say O as in Omicron?
No. right.
Let's see. Fishing for Chigos and Ginches. Yeah. Those.
Oh yeah, all sorts of stuff. Ginches,
There
Chigos, good
are
job, guys.
options.
Finding the words. Go to bed, Aditya. All right, so Thomas Reinke bingo's out, and he's going to win by a final score of 519 to Brian Bowman's 361. So this was a closer game than that most of the way, but in the end, Thomas puts it away with a big bingo.
Yeah. So, what do you think about potential turning points here, or swings? I certainly have my thought. I think I made my position fairly clear, but what do you think?
Well, I mean, really, the game swung when Thomas opened with 2 bingos in a row to start the game. It was like 150 to 50.
Yeah, I think actually very early on, the first turn technically, job over Bajri. That was something we were talking about right at the beginning.
Yeah. The whole game would have gone differently if he played Bajri, you could say. Yeah. Because I would have kept the O rather than giving him the O for outright.
Yeah, and then that's a whole bunch of what if from there. So yeah, technically the earlier swing point was playing job instead of Bajri. Yeah, what else can we point out that was interesting that we haven't already discussed?
I don't know. We had plenty of time to discuss all of it, didn't we?
We got to talk through a whole bunch of
things. It was a really well-played game by Thomas Reinke all around. I can't point to a single mistake, really. I thought he played great from start to finish.
He played a pretty solid game, I must say.